wide with wonder. One year the rain didn't come. The skies remained clear, and the clouds that usually brought life-giving water were nowhere to be seen. The villagers waited and hoped, but day after day the sun blazed down relentlessly. The sky was just blue, no clouds. It was as if the heavens had forgotten them. The once lush and green landscape began to wither under the unyielding sun. The river that flowed through the village became very small. Its once strong and steady current was reduced to a mere trickle, barely enough to sustain the wildlife that depended on it. The fields became dry and cracked. The fertile soil turned to dust, and the crops that the villagers relied on for food and income shriveled and died. The villagers watched their plants dry up and die. Their hard work and hopes for a bountiful harvest were dashed, leaving them with nothing but barren fields. There wasn't enough water to drink, and definitely not enough to water the plants. The village well, once a reliable source of water, had dried up, forcing the villagers to travel long distances in search of water. The happy sounds of children playing were gone. Everyone was worried. The village felt sad. The once vibrant community was now filled with anxiety and despair. Rohan's family was hungry too. The scarcity of food meant that meals were smaller and less frequent. The children, who once played with boundless energy, now sat quietly, their faces etched with hunger. With no food growing, there wasn't much to eat. The pantry, once stocked with grains and vegetables, was now nearly empty. The fear of starvation loomed over every household. Rohan's dad came home sad every day. The weight of his family's suffering was heavy on his shoulders. He felt helpless, unable to provide for them as he once did. Rohan's mom tried to make him feel better, but she was worried too. She put on a brave face for the children, but the strain of the drought was evident in her eyes. One evening, Rohan heard his parents talking quietly. He could sense the tension in their voices, the fear of an uncertain future. "We can't live like this," his dad said sadly. The desperation in his voice was clear. The drought had taken its toll on everyone. "We might have to leave the village and find work in the city." The thought of leaving their home was heartbreaking, but they saw no other option. Rohan's mum sighed with tears in her eyes. The idea of uprooting their lives and starting anew was overwhelming. "But what about our home, our life here?" she whispered. The village was more than just a place. It was their history, their memories, and their identity. That night, Rohan couldn't sleep. He was worried. He thought about leaving the village. He got up and went outside. The moon was hidden, and it was very dark. Rohan saw a light in his grandpa's hut. He went inside and found his grandpa sitting on his bed. A lantern made shadows on the wall. Rohan climbed onto the bed next to his grandpa. "What's wrong, Rohan?" his grandpa asked kindly. Rohan told his grandpa everything. He told him about leaving the village and how scared he was. His grandpa listened and gently stroked Rohan's hair. When Rohan finished, his grandpa said, "Do you remember the story of the hidden spring? The one that saved our village from a dry time long ago?" Rohan nodded, curious. "Tell me again, Grandpa," he asked. His grandpa smiled warmly, his eyes twinkling with memories, and started his story. "Gather around, everyone," he said, his voice filled with nostalgia. "Long ago," he began, "when I was just a boy, our village faced a terrible drought. The skies were clear, but not a drop of rain fell for months. Just like now, the land was parched and dry, the plants withered away, and the fields lay barren. The villagers grew desperate as hunger gnawed at our bellies. Just when we felt all hope was lost, a wise old woman known for her knowledge of the forest came forward. She told us about a hidden spring deep within the forest, a place where clean water flowed abundantly. She said the spring had enough water to quench the thirst of the entire village, but it was hidden, and only those with courage and determination could find it. The journey to find the spring was not for the faint-hearted. It required bravery, resilience, and a strong will to navigate the dense forest and its many challenges. Rohan listened, his heart pounding with excitement and a touch of fear. The idea of such an adventure thrilled him. Yet the dangers his grandpa spoke of made him anxious. "Did you find it, Grandpa?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. His grandpa chuckled softly, a twinkle in his eye. "Yes, Rohan," he said, "I did. I ventured into the forest with a group of brave villagers. We faced many obstacles, from treacherous paths to wild animals, but our determination to save our village kept us going. The journey was fraught with danger at every turn. We had to be vigilant and resourceful, using our wits to overcome the challenges that lay before us. Rohan looked up to his grandpa, his eyes wide with admiration and determination. He felt a surge of resolve within him. He knew what he had to do. The story had ignited a fire in his heart, a desire to be brave and make a difference. "Grandpa," he said bravely, his voice steady and clear, "I want to find the hidden spring. I want to help our village just like you did." His grandpa looked at him, a mix of pride and worry in his eyes. He saw the same determination in Rohan that had driven him all those years ago. The next morning, Rohan told his parents his plan. He had been thinking about it for weeks, ever since the village well had dried up. The drought had hit them hard, and the only hope was to find the hidden spring in the dense forest. Rohan believed he could do it, even though he was just a teenager. They didn't want him to go. The forest was known to be dangerous, filled with wild animals and treacherous paths. His parents had heard stories of people who had ventured in and never returned. "It's too dangerous, Rohan," his mom said worriedly. Her eyes were filled with tears and her voice trembled. She couldn't bear the thought of losing her only son to the perils of the forest. "The forest has wild animals?" But Rohan was determined. He had heard the stories too, but he also knew that their village's survival depended on finding that spring. "I have to try, Ma," he said. His voice was steady, and his eyes were filled with resolve. "For our village, for all of us." He knew the risks, but he also knew the rewards. If he succeeded, he could save his family and friends from the drought. His parents agreed. They saw the determination in his eyes and knew they couldn't stop him. They had to trust him and hope for the best. They knew Rohan was their only hope. The village had no other options, and time was running out. They had to believe in him. They gave him a small bag with some flatbread and sweet treats. It wasn't much, but it was all they could spare. They hoped it would be enough to sustain him on his journey. His dad gave him his walking stick. It was sturdy and had been in the family for generations. It would help him navigate the rough terrain. "Be careful, son," he said, hugging Rohan. His voice was thick with emotion. He didn't want to let go, but he knew he had to. "And may God be with you." His father placed a hand on his head, offering a silent prayer for his safety. Rohan took a deep breath and went into the forest. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth. He felt a mix of fear and excitement as he stepped into the unknown. It was dark and thick with trees. The canopy above blocked out most of the sunlight, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. The branches felt like spooky fingers. They seemed to reach out and grab at him as he walked by, making the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The air smelled like wet dirt and old leaves. It was a smell that reminded him of the stories his grandfather used to tell about the forest. He walked for hours in the hot sun. The forest was dense and the path was not clear. He had to rely on his instincts and the stories he had heard to find his way. He was tired and thirsty, but he kept going. He knew he couldn't stop. The village was counting on him and he couldn't let them down. He had to find the spring before dark. The forest was dangerous at night and he didn't want to be caught out in the open. He saw some wild dogs. They were scavenging for food and their presence made him uneasy. Their eyes looked scary in the dim light. They glowed like embers, and he could feel their gaze following him. Rohan froze, his heart beating fast. He didn't know what to do. He had never been this close to wild animals before. He remembered his grandpa's words. "Being brave doesn't mean not being scared, but overcoming your fear." He took a deep breath and slowly backed away, keeping his eyes on the dogs. He knew he had to stay calm and find a way to continue his journey. He took a deep breath, raised his walking stick and yelled loudly. The dogs were surprised and ran away. Rohan felt braver and kept walking. As the sun went down, Rohan found a stream. The water was dirty, but it was water. He drank a lot. As he rested, he noticed something odd. The stream seemed to be flowing up the hill. That didn't make sense. He remembered his grandpa's words about the hidden spring. Could this be it? Rohan followed the stream uphill. The forest got thicker and cooler. The stream got louder and soon Rohan saw a waterfall. The water fell from a cliff into a pool of clear water. worried and sad, gathered around him. When they saw the water, everyone gasped. Rohan, tired but happy, told his story. He told them about the hidden spring, the waterfall, and the water. Hope filled their eyes. Following Rohan, the villagers with buckets and pots went to the spring. Seeing the flowing water, they cried with happiness. They drank the water, their thirst was gone. Working together, they made a path to the spring. They made channels to bring the water to their fields. They built pipes to bring water to the village. The dry fields turned green again. The plants grew, and the village was beautiful and full of food again. Everyone was happy again. Rohan was a hero. He saved them. He was the brave boy who found the water. But for Rohan, the best part was seeing his parents smile, his friends laughing, and his village alive again. The hard times had shown them how strong they were, how they could work together, and how important hope is. And Rohan, the boy who dreamed and acted bravely, showed everyone that even the smallest person can make a big difference.